Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at a couple from the outside and thought, wow, they look perfect together. They must have it all figured out. Only to find out a few months later that they broke up in a storm of anger. Betrayal or silence? Why does that happen? Why do men, smart, successful, good-hearted men find themselves drained, confused, and sometimes even destroyed after being with a woman who once seemed like a dream come true? Here's the uncomfortable truth. Many women carry hidden weaknesses. I'm not talking about surface-level flaws, everyone has those. I'm talking about deep-rooted patterns of thought and behavior that quietly sabotage love. And the most dangerous part? Most of them don't even realize they're doing it. Picture this. A man falls in love with a woman who shines in every room, who seems confident, magnetic, full of life. But slowly, he notices that her confidence only survives when other people are watching. Without validation, she feels empty. Or imagine a woman who is stunning, desirable, admired by many. Yet the smallest disagreement sets off storms of emotion that can burn an entire relationship to the ground. These weaknesses don't appear in the first date or the second or even the third. They show up once you've invested your time, your energy, and your heart. That's why so many men get blindsided, because they're not trained to see them. But here's where the Stoics come in. 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius and the great philosophers studied human nature with razor-sharp clarity. They didn't have Instagram or dating apps, but they knew human weakness, and they knew the cost of ignoring it. And in this video, we're going to bring that ancient wisdom into modern love. I'm going to reveal the 6 hidden female weaknesses men need to know. Now, not to judge, not to condemn, but to protect yourself and to grow wiser in love. Because knowledge is power, and if you don't know these truths, you risk wasting years of your life in relationships that steal your peace. Before we go further, let me quickly say this. If you want to keep uncovering the mysteries of love, philosophy, and human psychology, please subscribe to our channel, Stoic Mysteries. This is where ancient wisdom meets modern struggles. And trust me, what you'll discover here could change your life. Now, let's dive in. Chapter 1. The weakness of chasing validation. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a relationship where no matter how much you gave, it somehow never felt enough? You could tell her she was beautiful, remind her that she meant the world to you, show up for her in every way possible. Yet the next day, it's like all of that vanished into thin air. She needed to hear it again. And again. And again. It's exhausting, isn't it? This is the first hidden weakness many men overlook, the hunger for validation. And here's the tricky part. At first, it doesn't even look like a weakness. In fact, in the beginning, it can feel flattering. She lights up when you compliment her. She seems so grateful when you text her back quickly. She posts a picture with you and beams at the hundreds of likes rolling in. You think, wow, she's so confident, she must really love life. But then, something shifts. You start to notice that her mood rises and falls not based on what's real, but on how much attention she gets. If the world claps, she's glowing. If the world is silent, she's restless, irritable, maybe even insecure. That's not confidence, that's dependence. Think about it. Have you ever known someone who posts 3, 4, even 5 selfies a week, waiting for the flood of "you look amazing" comments? Or maybe she constantly asks, "Do you still love me?" even though you've never given her a reason to doubt it? It feels harmless at first, but slowly, it starts to feel like a bottomless pit. No matter how much you pour in, it never fills. Why? Because validation is like a drug. The more you get, the more you need. And just like any addiction, the high never lasts. Here's where the Stoics cut through the noise. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." He reminds us that truth and inner stability matter more than applause. Because when your sense of worth depends on others, you've given them control over your happiness. Now pause and think about this. Have you ever felt that in your own life? Maybe not with selfies or attention from strangers, but in some moment where your value rose and fell depending on what someone else thought of you. That sinking feeling when someone ignores your message, that little rush when someone praises you. We've all been there, haven't we? But here's the difference. Some people learn to ground themselves in truth, while others stay trapped in that cycle forever. And when a woman is stuck in it, it doesn't just affect her, it affects you. Because suddenly your relationship isn't built on love, it's built on keeping her supply of validation flowing. And the scary part? If you don't keep feeding it, she'll look elsewhere. that's why this weakness is so dangerous. It's not about beauty, it's not about charm, it's about foundation. A wise man learns to see through the glitter, past the smiles, and ask, is she at peace with herself? Or is she addicted to the applause of others? Because if it's the second, then no amount of love will ever be enough. Chapter 2. The weakness of reacting instead of reflecting. Tell me honestly, have you ever been in a conversation where one small comment completely set someone off? Maybe you said something innocent, something you didn't even mean as harsh, and suddenly, boom, anger, tears, accusations, and you're left standing there thinking, wait, what just happened? Did I really say something that bad? This is the weakness of reacting instead of reflecting, and it's one of the most destructive patterns a person can carry into a relationship. Think back to your own life. Have you ever been with someone who seemed to explode at the tiniest things? Maybe you got home 10 minutes late, and she immediately assumed you didn't care. Maybe you didn't reply fast enough to a text, and she jumped to the conclusion that you were ignoring her. It's exhausting, isn't it? Because suddenly, you're not dealing with the situation, you're dealing with her reaction to the situation. And the problem with reacting is simple. It's driven by impulse, not wisdom. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius, warned about this constantly. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Notice that? Power over your mind, not over what's happening, not over what someone else said, but over how you choose to respond. But when someone lives in reaction mode, they don't pause to ask, is this true? Is this worth my energy? Is this the right way to respond? Instead, their emotions grab the steering wheel and drive the car straight into chaos. And if you've ever been on the receiving end of that, you know how draining it feels. It's like walking on eggshells. You start censoring yourself, choosing every word carefully, because you're terrified of the next explosion. That's not love, that's emotional survival. Now let me ask you this. How many conflicts in your life, whether with friends, family, or relationships, got worse simply because someone reacted too quickly? Maybe you've done it yourself. We all have, right? That moment when you fire off a text you regret, or you snap back in anger, only to realize later that you misunderstood the whole situation. But here's the thing. Wisdom comes in the pause. That tiny space between what happens and how you respond. That's where maturity lives. That's where trust is built. So when a woman, or anyone really, hasn't learned to reflect before reacting, life with them becomes unpredictable. Today they're fine. Tomorrow a small joke or a late reply could turn into a storm. And if you're constantly caught in that storm, you'll find yourself drained, anxious, maybe even questioning your own worth. That's why Marcus Aurelius also said, how much more harmful are the consequences of anger and grief than the circumstances that arouse them in us? Think about that. The problem usually isn't the situation, it's the reaction to the situation. So here's the real lesson. When you see this pattern in someone, don't ignore it, because a person who reacts instead of reflects isn't just hurting themselves. They'll end up hurting you too. And no matter how much love you give, no matter how careful you are, peace will always feel out of reach. Chapter 3. The weakness of refusing responsibility. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Responsibility, ownership, accountability, the Stoics saw it as the foundation of strength. But here's the weakness. Many women run from responsibility. If something goes wrong, it's always someone else's fault. The ex was toxic. The boss was unfair. The friend was jealous. And eventually, you. When a person refuses to take responsibility, growth stops. Because if nothing is ever their fault, then nothing can ever be changed. And in relationships, this shows up as endless blame games. Arguments don't end in solutions, they end in finger-pointing. Psychology calls this externalizing blame, and it's one of the fastest ways to kill trust. Men, hear this clearly. A woman who avoids responsibility will repeat the same mistakes forever. And if you stay, you'll get caught in the loop with her. The Stoic way is to look inward, to ask, what is within my control? A wise woman does the same. An unwise one refuses and drags you down with her. Chapter 4. The weakness of confusing desire with love. Marcus Aurelius said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." But in our culture, Happiness is often mistaken for excitement, and many women confuse desire with love. You've probably seen this story. A woman falls for the man who excites her, the drama, the thrill, the butterflies, and the man who offers real stability, she calls him boring. But here's the danger: desire fades, lust cools, excitement always settles down, and when it does, women trapped in this weakness say the spark is gone. I'm not happy anymore. Have you ever heard of someone leaving a perfectly good partner for someone who brings chaos, only to regret it later? That's this weakness in action. True love isn't just about spark, it's about building, choosing, showing up even when the butterflies are gone. Stoicism reminds us, the mind creates happiness, not external thrills. A wise man doesn't confuse passion for permanence. He knows the difference between a firework and a flame. Chapter 5. The weakness of living through comparison. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed a woman scrolling through social media, looking at other couples, and suddenly her mood shifts? A picture of a friend on a tropical vacation, a post showing a partner giving lavish gifts, a perfectly posed photo of someone else's happy life. And just like that, what she suddenly feels: not enough. Sound familiar? Maybe you've been on the receiving end of it. Maybe you've felt her eyes flicker with doubt, or heard the subtle complaint: why don't we do that? Why can't we have what they have? It's exhausting, because no matter how much you provide, it's never quite enough. This is a hidden weakness, living through comparison, and it's more destructive than most men realize. It's not about greed or selfishness, it's about perspective. When someone constantly measures their life against others, they rob themselves of gratitude, joy, and contentment. And unfortunately, they can drag you into the same cycle. Think about your own experiences for a moment. Have you ever caught yourself comparing your life to someone else's? Maybe a friend's promotion, a neighbor's new car, a cousin's luxurious wedding. You feel a twinge of envy or inadequacy. And now imagine that feeling magnified in someone you love every single day. That's what it's like to be in a relationship with someone trapped by comparison. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, it is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor. That applies to women as well. True wealth isn't measured by status, possessions, or appearances. It's measured by the ability to appreciate what you have. Comparison steals that wealth, leaving only a sense of lack, dissatisfaction, and restlessness. And here's the tricky part. This weakness often masquerades as ambition or high standards. You might hear phrases like, I just want more in life, but the difference lies in perspective. Ambition is fueled by growth. Comparison is fueled by insecurity. One lifts you up, the other drags you down. Have you noticed the tension it creates in a relationship? Arguments about money, time, attention, or even simple choices like a weekend trip. Nothing you do feels sufficient because her mind is elsewhere, measuring herself and you against an invisible standard. It's like trying to fill a cup with a hole in the bottom. It never fills, no matter how much effort you pour in. The Stoic lesson is simple but powerful. Peace comes from within, not from comparison. And a wise man recognizes this in a partner early. He looks for someone who can celebrate life as it is, someone who sees value in the ordinary, and someone who measures herself not against the world, but against her own growth. Because when comparison dominates, no matter how much love, attention, or effort you give, it will never feel like enough. And staying in that cycle isn't just draining, it's destructive. Ask yourself, is she genuinely content with what she has? Or is she chasing the shadow of someone else's life? The answer will tell you everything you need to know. Chapter 6. The weakness of ignoring inner growth. Have you ever met someone who seems perfect on the outside? Stunning, charismatic, confident, but somehow, when challenges hit, they crumble? Maybe it's a small disagreement, an unexpected setback, or a stressful situation, and suddenly, their calm exterior disappears. You're left thinking, wait, I thought she had it all together. What happened? This is the weakness of ignoring inner growth. And it's one of the most subtle yet devastating patterns a person can carry. It's not about appearances, success, or charm. It's about the work we do on ourselves, the cultivation of character, resilience, and wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Think about that for a moment. It means that who we are inside, our habits, our mindset, our values, shapes how we experience the world. A woman who neglects inner growth may invest heavily in style, social status, or external validation. But when life tests her, there's nothing deep within to anchor her. Have you ever been in a relationship where it felt like all the effort was one-sided? Maybe she looked amazing, had a magnetic personality, and everyone admired her. But when serious issues came up, she couldn't handle them. Maybe she panicked, lashed out, or simply withdrew. It's frustrating because you realize that while she may shine brightly, the light is fragile, dependent on circumstances, and easily dimmed. Here's the truth. Inner growth is what sustains a person through life and love. Patience, empathy, resilience, self-reflection. These are the qualities that create lasting partnerships. They're not flashy, they're not easy to measure, but they are the backbone of meaningful connection. Think back for a moment. Have you ever tried to have a deep, meaningful conversation with someone, only to find they just couldn't meet you there? Maybe you wanted to explore feelings, goals, or even a moral dilemma, and they brushed it off, uninterested or uncomfortable. That's a sign that inner growth hasn't been prioritized. And over time it becomes obvious, without inner strength, beauty fades, excitement dies, and emptiness remains. A wise man notices this early. He looks past the surface charm, past the social praise, and asks, does she invest in herself? Not just externally, but internally? Does she reflect, learn, and grow? Because those who ignore inner growth can only take you so far. They may sparkle now, but they won't weather life's storms. The Stoic takeaway is clear. Real value comes from within. And a woman, or anyone who cultivates wisdom, self-awareness, and resilience, doesn't just survive life's challenges. She thrives. And when she thrives, she uplifts those around her, creating relationships built on substance, not just appearance or excitement. So ask yourself, in your life, are you choosing someone who invests in inner growth, or someone who invests only in surface-level glitter? The answer may determine not just the success of your relationships, but the quality of the life you share together. Conclusion. Now let's pause. Because here's the Stoic twist. It's not just about women. These weaknesses, they exist in men too. How many men chase validation, react impulsively, refuse responsibility, mistake desire for love, compare endlessly, or ignore growth? Far too many. So the true wisdom is this. Don't just spot these weaknesses in others. Guard against them in yourself. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind." And that is the final lesson. Wisdom is always a choice. If this video struck a chord with you, don't forget to subscribe to Stoic Mysteries, because here we explore the truths that can transform not just your relationships, but your entire life. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.